So seems like many people have joined right now. So a very good evening to everyone. And today we have Aurin Chakraborty here with us. He's a student from Symbiosis Law School, NOIDA, and he has been a student ambassador for EBC for quite some time now. And he has conducted um, quite a few number of workshops with some other law colleges. I have recently been a participant in a workshop which was organized by him for Amity Law School. I somehow I got access into that. So I hope this session will be very informative and useful. So without any further delay, I would like Aurin to take over. So Aurin, whenever you are ready, please start.
Right. So thank you so much. On an inceptive note, I would just like to thank everyone to take time off and almost weekend evening and join me in this process and endeavor. And I would also like to thank the members of the Journal and Seminar Committee for allowing me to conduct this workshop and making me part of your family here. So I'll just share my screen if that's possible. Yes. Right. So can I just confirm if the SCC dashboard is visible to all of us?
Yes, it is.
Thank you so much. So right. So we'll just go through the ins and outs of SCC online and ways and mechanisms to search in that effect. So this might be a little repetitive for some of us, but I'm sure all of us, including me, will take away something after this meeting. So this is the SCC dashboard, as I just said, and it's divided into three uh, columns, which is the we call it the research column, the my library column, and the links column. And what we do through research, which I'll be coming upon fundamentally, is the blue line search, which is essentially because of the color. So the most important aspect over here is the aspect about word search, which I think so most of us uh, find handy during our college or internship research aspects. So now the most intricate aspects, if I may touch upon that first, which of course might not be known to all of us, is the aspect on Boolean search, right? So this really helps us in, so essentially whenever we search for something on SCC, it just gives us, an array and a sea of results, right? So our job essentially as legal researchers, to say so, is essentially to shorten them and narrow down that aspect to come in and find out the article or the case that fits our need the most, right? So I think so Boolean search is something that really puts forward that case for us. So first of all, so essentially there are four keywords in Boolean search which you can see over here, which is the and keyword, the not keyword, the or keyword, and the near keyword, right? So I'll start with the and keyword. I'll start with the near keyword rather, because the and keyword is essentially a default setting. So whenever you all are searching anything, all of us when we are searching anything on the search bar, so what SCC does is it uses it uses a technology or a search methodology known as the Boolean search by default. So right, if we even do not use the and keyword, even if we are typing random letters like I am a boy, so what it'll do is it'll essentially be searched as I and in that effect. So uh, you know keeping that aside, if we essentially go to the near keyword, now what essentially happens is what this near keyword essentially helps us to do is the fact that whenever there are random words or terms, right, and we want all of them somewhat into the judgment or the article that we essentially want to find, the near keyword essentially puts that forward, right? So for example, if I'm searching for a term or a sentence or a phrase in my judgment, which is essentially is, say for example, I cannot define an elephant, but I do recognize one when I see one. Now this is a very famous quotation that has been used in a lot of judgments here and there. So what I can do is I can merely type as, I cannot define an elephant, but I do recognize one when I see one. Now, what we can essentially do is, we can either, put it into double inverted commas for, the search engine to find it. But a lot of time, what happens is, that we're not really, we are only acclaimed with bits and pieces of, these codes or, some terms essentially. So what I can easily do is, I can just like, the general words, for example, in this line, I cannot, I can just remove that, and then general English words and but I do not recognize, all that I can delete. Given a scenario that we do not have the entire line in our minds. So what we can essentially do is these three keywords which essentially help us to find out that particular phrase. So what we can essentially do is just put near between these three words, and automatically the search from all words, it will be changed to Boolean. What we can also do over here is the word range, right? So what this essentially helps us to do is, for example, define an elephant. We want to find that within, now 10 is the default setting. If you want to increase that search limit, for example, we can even put it to 0, in case you're looking for a phrase like that, or if you want it even more, you can go up to 20, right? So we I think so our search will be done with a default setting. So if I can just fire my search, and I'll just wait for the results. Right, so now here I have that exact line. So what it'll essentially do is I can just go to the highlighted part over here, just, and there I'll find it, right? So this is essentially a feature which really helps us a lot. Now what you can also do is instead of just scrolling down, you can, so this is the highlight aspect, so you can just go down to the highlighted part over here, right? So all the highlights in the necessary judgments, that will be cited over here, right? Now also you can see that this is a 1945 judgment. So of course all our seniors, or an article that we would be writing essentially would require a rather a contemporary citation, right? So what we can just do is we can you know just sort it to a chronological order, wherein we put the latest judgments first. So whenever I do that and fire the search, it'll automatically arrange it in a chronological order by way of date, right? And there are other methods as well, in aspects of party name to court name to uh, those aspects. So we can find over here that in 2015 the Madras High Court had used this particular phrase to that effect, right? And also if there are any questions, I would just request all of y'all to just write it down, or put it in the chat box, so that at the very end I can just try to clarify all of them, right? So that was more or less about the near keyword. We can use it for other purposes as well, whenever we want to find, for example, even if you want to in criminal law, for example, you want to find a case law with respect to murder, wherein the murder weapon is knife. So you can always put forward murder near knife and fire your search, and it'll give you the necessary results, right? Next we can go to the or keyword, right, in a Boolean search. Now what the or keyword essentially helps us is in a situation wherein we are dealing with, say for example, synonyms, or similar sounding words, or similar meaning words which have similar meanings. So what I can essentially do over here is, for example, if I'm finding something with respect to, say, termination of appointment, or just employment, or I can just use termination in that effect, and I'll just fire the search. And mind it, you can also use the or keyword in the the main search bar itself. But I'll do something else over here. Over here, you can, so there is this aspect which comes as search within search. So, as you can see, there are 1,34,218 results which have, come up. Now, our job essentially is to, again, narrow down that search, right? So what we can essentially do over here is, use keywords like, say, temporary, or say, for example, casual, or I can use, say, for example, ad hoc, and fire the search. And there you'll have the results. Now you'll just see how 1,34,218 results have been directly narrowed down to 6,627. Now, essentially, if you're looking for judgments, we can just click on judgments only, and even if you want to narrow your search down further, you can always go down, and if you want Supreme Court judgments, or take for example, you're interning under someone in the Calcutta High Court, he or she would essentially want judgments from the Calcutta High Court itself, right? So you can just put in only Calcutta High Court over here, and it will give you judgments just from the Calcutta High Court. Again, to that effect. Now, wherever employment has been terminated and the employee type was temporary or ad hoc, as you can see from these results, right? So that's more or less, with the or keyword. If we can go back and do word search, next in effect to the not keyword, right? Now this not keyword again, comes into effect when, for example, again, in our attempt to narrow down our search, right? So for example, we are searching for a case on murder, and we are searching for a factual scenario wherein the murder weapon, for example, was not a knife, right? So you just write murder, you can put in the not keyword, and you can just add in knife. Now here is something wherein the right. So I'll just fire this search and then come into that aspect. Right. So these are all cases with respect to murder wherein knife was not the weapon which was used for murdering. Now again, you can further narrow down your research in case you're looking for digest notes. Also, you have a section over here which allows you to go into digest notes and those aspects. You can just put in only, and again your quote of choice. So that's more or less it. And to further narrow it down, you can always arrange it via chronological order. And since I've come into this aspect, I'll just showcase a few more features with respect to citations, right? So essentially, take for example, we are all right. We are writing an article wherein we want to cite this particular case law. Right now, all of us have one very essential language that SCC Online does not allow you to copy, in the general copy and paste manner that we all do on other websites, right? But for example, for the aspect of citation, this is a copy citation button, right? So what this will essentially do is it will just take you to the clipboard, and what will essentially happen is the name of the case, and it will be in this format: A versus B, comma, the necessary SCC citation. That will automatically be copied to your clipboard, and you can just go forward, and if you paste this, so that's how it comes, right? So you need not just type it out again and again, right? Now over here, if you want to save it for some in your records for even future use, you can always do that by so like you add it to your folder. You can always create a folder or change your folder over here, and then you can add it for further reference, right? In case you're looking for a case reference over here, you can always search for that by virtue of this button, right? So essentially what will happen over here, I've just fired it, so I just wait for the results. Right, now over here, this case references for 2016 SCC Online SC 1258, it's not been found because it's a rather new case law, and it has not been probably referred to anywhere else. But for example, I'll do this later on. If you're going to an aspect, say Keshavananda Bharati or something, which has been referred to by courts time and again, we'll find judgments where that particular case law has been referred to and has been further reported on the SCC Online platform. Right. Now, I'll go into those aspects again later on. Now, for example, again, this will essentially again further our attempt to narrow down our research. For example, we want to search something which involves both the Indian Penal Code and say Section 138 of the uh, Negotiable Instruments Act. So it's not necessary for us to go ahead and find by citation or find by section, which again I'll cover in the later part of this interaction. You can just go ahead and write penal, and you can just put in near say section 420, which is already there an aspect, and just put negotiable near 130, and we'll just add in here over here. So what this will essentially do is give you case laws wherein both these particular statutory aspects have been dealt with. So if you fire the search, and you can see that the moment you add a Boolean keyword, the search setting by default goes to Boolean. So you need not just change that. So right. So again, so here we have a case wherein again in our attempt to narrow down research materials that we have. So over here you can see that Section 138 of the Negotiable Instruments Act as well as Section 420 of the Indian Penal Code has been dealt with, right? So you can just click on this, and a subsequent tab will open up wherein you can access the entire judgment, right? Now over here, as I said, so this this is a smart copy. So what you can essentially do is, if you want to copy this whole judgment at a go, you can just do this. And if you want to copy a particular paragraph in a judgment, so again this feature of smart copy comes into play. So you just double click on the paragraph, and a tab will open up wherein you can even mail this to anyone you want, or this particular paragraph, which will already be given a heading like this. You can just copy it, and it will be copied to your it will be copied.
Aurin,
and you can just go ahead.
Just to interrupt you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
When you are clicking on the citation of that Maharashtra Law Journal citation, we are not being able to view the tab which is opening up. Can you do something about it? Because otherwise,
right.
Yeah.
I'll just do that. I'm so sorry. Wait. Right. I hope it's visible now.
Yes, it is.
Yes. Thank you so much. So I'll just repeat what I said, and I'm so sorry for that. So again, if you want to copy the entire judgment as it is, you can just click on smart copy, and the entire judgment will be copied, right? You can also remove your selections. And if you want to, again, copy a particular paragraph, take for example, paragraph 8. Again, the smart copy feature comes into effect, and you can just double click on it, and wait, I'll just Right. So if you double click on it, this particular tab is going to open up. And then again, from here, this heading will already be available for the sake of our convenience. And then we can just copy it and the entire paragraph will be copied. And you can paste it in your Word document or wherever it's required. Right. So I'll just go back. Right. So that was mostly about it. Now we'll just go back and look into the other aspects. Right. So that was mostly about the word search aspect of the Blue Search. So next up, there is a provision which helps us to find case laws via sections. If our senior just tells us to get us case laws on say a particular provision, so we can just go into, for example, costs. Okay, so we'll go into this. We'll type Civil Procedure Code 1908, find the title, go to section 35. I'll just wait for it to come. Right. So section 35. We'll fire the search, and again we'll just find as soon as it comes up. But there'll be a whole sea and ocean of judgments which will be put forward with. Right. So there are 888 judgments and digest notes inclusive. So what we can just do is take, for example, we're just looking for exemplary costs. So again, you can search within the search results and just type up over here exemplary. And fire the search. And what it will essentially do is just give us judgments where costs have been imposed under section 35, but they are exemplary in nature. You can just see the head note over here, right? So that is again one aspect. I'll move forward then to find by citation. Now this is again, we can only use this to our effect if we have the citation, and I think so most of us know it over here. Nonetheless, I'll still do it. For example, if we are just one, so there are you'll mostly find all law journals which are there in India over here. We can just go to Supreme Court and take, for example, one citation. Right. So this is right. So I can just go to SCC Online and I'll put in SCC over here, and okay, just give me one moment. I'll just share with you one. Just check the citation for the right. So we go back and it's SCC. So 1973 for SCC 225. So this is the citation for the Keshavananda Bharati versus State of Kerala case. So we can just go there and you'll get the case. Just wait for this to load up. Right. So there you have it. Now over here, what is very important is the digest note, because this judgment is essentially I don't know how many pages it is, but it really gives us a taste of how long and how lengthy the Indian judiciary can be. So what we can use to our effect over here is the digest notes. Now, for example, if we are we'll just put only and Supreme Court. For example, if we are just looking for, say, a particular provision, the aspect of natural law, right? So the aspect of natural law in the judgment, which has been dealt with by the various judges, over here, Justice Matthew, now that particular provision comes up. So you need not just go through the entire judgment and find out that your particular need and provision. So you can just for example, if you're looking at the judgment for relying upon precedence, the aspect of precedence. Now the aspect of precedence, again, this particular digest note will just help you, right? So you can just look up and all the judges who have for example, Justice Reddy and Justice Devedi, who has given his or her opinion on the aspect. Now, a brief note of it has been prepared for our convenience. Of course, for greater reference, the para numbers have been mentioned, so we can always open up the judgment and copy the para number and then use it to our effect. Right. So that was mostly about it. I'll go back to the dashboard. Now, with respect to party names, right? So now party names, again, over here, again, this essentially comes to our cause only if we know at least say one of the party names. But often what happens, someone just tells us that, go find DK Basu or, MC Mehta or something like this. Over here now, these are rather famous case laws. So we know the entire party name. But take, for example, wherein, your senior just tells you that, one party is this, just find out the case law, right? And you also have to know the forum where that case had been agitated, right? So take, for example, I just go to Supreme Court, and if you just take, for example, DK Vasu, it will give you the result, right? But what happens essentially in situations where we are not sure of the spellings, right? Now, over here, you can already see that, an example has been given to you as to how to use wildcards with respect to a spelling, say Chaudhary, right? Now, it has different spellings, especially in India, right? So it can be Chaudhary or Chaudhary and various spellings to that effect. So now this example has already been given. I'll just use another example. Take, for example, if I use Mehta, right? Now, we are not sure if it is Mehta or Mota or, any aspect in that effect. So what we can just do is we are sure of the alphabet M in it. So we just type M. E or O, we're not sure about. So you put in a question mark. H and P, we're sure about. And the rest of the aspect you're not sure about. So what you can do is just put in an asterisk mark. Now, these are the two wildcards that, that are there over here. So, and you can just fire your search, and every case law which has been reported in SCC and has been argued before the Supreme Court with respect to these few variables, they'll all be displayed as in over here, right? So you have Mehta with you also have Mahato with you, and you have Mahato, and I'm sure later on you'll also find aspects of Mohta and any other variables to that effect, right? So this is one aspect. Now the other one is, search famous case names. Now it often happens that we are, we are we're pretty familiar with the generic name or the, public name of the judgment. Take, for example, the right to privacy judgment or the Sabrimala judgment, but we're not really, we do not know the case law, right? So what you can just do is take, for example, the Sabrimala judgment, right? So you can just write Sabrimala or women entry into Sabrimala temple case, and you can fire your search, and it'll give you that particular case, which is Indian Young Lawyers Association Sabrimala versus State of Kerala, and the necessary citation to that effect, right? So this is one aspect. Next up, we can go to find by topic. Now over here it's a rather, now there are already the set which is here. So take, for example, if we go to say administrative law and we go to the aspect of judicial review and we fire the search, so it will essentially give us all articles, case laws that have been reported on this portal with respect to judicial review. Right now, again, you can see there are 5,505 aspects to this search. Right. So what you can essentially do is, take, for example, you want to explore the scope of the power of the high courts with respect to judicial review against the National Company Law Tribunal, right? So you can just write company law in your search within search for the company, or you can just write the any generic word will do, and it will give you cases in that effect wherein aspects of company law have been dealt with, and the two forums, the High Court and uh, not necessarily the High Court. I've just put in company law over here, so you can also just aspects which deal with judicial review involving company law or the company law tribunal, right? So this is most of it, right? So next up, I'll go to take for example the words and phrases search. This is again more of a thesaurus or a dictionary that you're going to find, but it's not really like the Oxford or the Cambridge English Dictionary. It is more of a legal lexicon, right? So take for example, now there are two aspects. Now, show a list of words and phrases starting with the type text. So anywhere in judgments or digest notes or articles where the particular phrase or the word has been defined, or the next aspect, which is show list of words and phrases with type text anywhere. So in any judicial document or any legal document, this particular word has been used, it will show up. Just for example, if I can show you, take for example, abuse of process, or I'll show you something else. Due process of law, right? So what it will essentially do is give us the particular provisions where this particular term has been dealt with. Now, take for example the Specific Relief Act. It has in either of these sections 30, 39, 6 and 5, due process of law has not been defined, or has not been there is no definition to that effect in this particular legislation. But the aspect of due process is extremely intricate over here, so it has been put forward, right? With respect to the constitution articles, we all know articles 21 and 14 are the uh, the edifice on which the due process of law is resting on, right? So in that effect, it will give you the meaning, the particular case law where it has been defined, and the relevant provisions, right? So if you just need to click on this link and it will take you to the judgment, right? So that's most of it with respect to the blue line search. uh, right. So now the aspect of red line search. Now the red line search, as it reads my library, is mostly about, it's almost like your college library, but it's like your library on a virtual platform, right? So first we'll go to browse by curated topics. Now this is mostly again a find by topic aspect. However, this takes you to very niche and very which are popularly searched for. Take for example, if I go to corporate and commercial law, so that is the topic. It will give me all articles, judgments, and I'll just show you once it shows up. Just give me 30 seconds, I guess. Right. Now, with respect to corporate and commercial law, these aspects are there. The various, you know, uh, the various parts of law, or the areas of law which make up this general topic. So, aviation law, banking and finance. If we go to competition law, it will give us all. So, you'll have the statutory law, which is the Competition Act of 2002. You will have all allied aspects which deal with competition law. For example, the RERA Act or the Electricity Act, again, which has been the rules and regulation, and this is especially relevant in commercial law or corporate law, wherein you have a lot of bylaws and rules which come into that effect very frequently. So you have all the compat regulations, the CCI form and time of preparation, everything you will find here. With respect to government notification, any executive notification circulars, you'll also find it here. Case laws, again, you'll find it over here. The landmark case laws that have developed the jurisprudence of this particular law. You'll also find at the very end articles, research articles, or uh, you know articles which have been put forward on the SCC blog in that effect. So you'll find all of that over here. That's mostly about curated topics. So it essentially makes our lives easy. Now, browse by law reports is again essentially giving us, for example, reports of the Law Commission, or any reports which have been issued in exercise of administrative jurisdictions. Take for example, if we look at the All India Service Law Journal, so it is sorted by years, right from 1973 when it came into effect. If we go to 2000 till when it was there, it will give you all the cases which have been reported in this particular journal, right? So also with respect to so this will essentially give you all the law reporters in the various high courts and even the district courts or the forums in that effect, right? If we also go back to law reports, uh, right? So that's more or less it. It'll also give you the weekly notes. Now you can find various articles by various legal scholars and emissionaries in that effect over here because right. So that's mostly about law reports. Next up, I'll take you to browse judgments by courts and tribunals. Now this is almost like a case law by section or a citation. However, this essentially gives us wider ambit in the sense that it helps us access foreign courts. So mostly all common law nations, for example South Africa, if we go up to Bangladesh, we find out the Supreme Court decisions that have been reported. For example, if we go to the appellate division itself, it'll take us 2 years. And for example, if we go to this year, in 2020, it's reported there has been a landmark decision for the month of August. Now, 6 over here is the bench strength. So it'll take us to a decision, which is Fazlul Haq Sardar versus Grameen Phone Limited. And yeah, right. So you have the order. And if it was a judgment, the judgment would also show up. Right. So that's mostly about, judgments court-wise and the aspect of browse by judgment by courts and tribunals. Now, you'll also find international tribunals over here. So that is one good aspect if we're looking for something cross-jurisdictional. Now, browse by acts and rules, again, this takes us to various bylaws, the particular statutes that are there. So if we just open that up, you'll see the central acts and rules. It also helps us. So for example, aspect like company law, wherein almost every year we have new rules and orders to that effect. So it will take you to the rules and any orders that have been issued to that effect. So all bylaws with respect to or delegated legislations with respect to which have been based on the company, the Companies Act of 2013, you'll find it over here, right? So that's mostly about it. Next up, I'll go to browse by articles. Again, over here, as you can just see, I'll just wait for it. So these are blogs, law review journals. Now, this essentially helps us with respect to article writing or any kind of academic work. Now, what is essentially relevant over here, you'll also find mention of the Tagore Law lectures, which used to be hosted by the department and the University of Calcutta. So all the lectures, the bound volumes of which you'll find it over here, right up until it was held in the year of 1942, right? So that's about uh, articles. Secondary material, again, takes you back to aspects of your law commission reports and your constitutional assembly reports. You also get something very interesting as historical trials. So for example, the Bal Gangadhar Tilak trial, all aspects of the trial have been recorded over here. So you can just go to the file, for example, Mr. Tilak's statement made to the court, and you'll find it. So if any of us are interested in that aspect, that provision is also here on SCC, right? So that's more or less it over here. Next up, we can proceed to the aspect of browse treaties. Now again, this will help us in our academic pursuit of international law. You'll find most of the bilateral treaties that India has entered into. For example, if it's with Australia, we can, or yeah, right. So anything agricultural cooperation or agricultural cooperation between India and Cyprus, all of that we'll find it over here. Now the topics have been, again, it has been collected in alphabetical order. So for example, if you're looking at something on, say, if you look at C, the civil aviation rules or the or the consultation protocol between India and Russia, so all those aspects come into feature over here, right? So next up, we can move forward to now again moot court resources. This is very important, and this is essentially for all of us who are in our attempt to do moot courts and do research for the same. So all moot courts, which the Eastern Book House has been a partner of, the winning memorials, the moot proposition, and uh, the winner, the memorial prepared by the winner of the particular moot court has been, you know, preserved over here. For example, if you go to the Nalsar B.R. Sawhney moot court, which is on constitutional law, so the 13th and the 10th edition, which was essentially partnered with SCC, you'll find the problem over here. For some reason, I guess the winner memorial has not been made available over here, maybe because of college policy. But for example, if you go to the NLIU Arkitanka or the NLU Jodhpur one, right? So over here, right? So you have the moot proposition, the winner team memorial, the winner team memorial for both the sides, right? So that essentially helps us in any of our preparation with respect to moot court. If you want to refer to any previous memorials which have claimed recognition in national moot court, right? Now the last aspect of the red line search is the browse legal or business news, which is again, if I can just take a minute. Right. So it again just keeps us updated of every news article, the notifications we keep on seeing in the SCC Online blog. So take for example, if you want to find a topic for legal research, we want to write a blog on or an article on, we can just go to the Supreme Court, say 2021. We can take the month of say August and choose the date. For example, if we go to say 12th of August, right? So we'll find that right. So this was the news that was that came into effect. What the ruling of the Supreme Court was: the question of law, the aspect of appeal, a short analysis. You know, everything has been made available here. The judgment that has been referred to, this citation has been provided over. You can just click on it and go back and refer to the judgment. And this was the case in which this particular analysis has been and the ratio has been laid down. So again, now since this is as early as 2021 August, it's not been reported in the hardbound journal. So you have an SCC Online, uh, citation to that effect. You can just click on it and it'll open up a tab and take you to the judgment, right? So that's mostly about it. With respect to the gray line search, it's not really an aspect for search. But again, if SCC Online has partnerships with, say, for example, LawNet, which is a, a, a legal database which is being used in Singapore, or for example, Hein Online, which is being used in USA. So in case, for example, for competition law, most of the jurisprudence is being developed in the US, right? So for example, these come in handy in that effect, right? For example, the SCC Online blog now, if I can share this tab now. Now, this just keeps on. So this is again like your live law or bar and bench. It just keeps you updated every day of whatever legal or any development that has taken place in the quote unquote the legal world. Now, what you'll also find over here is any op-eds. So op-eds are basically you'll find opinions or obituaries, right? You'll find an expert corner wherein these particular people who have acclaimed the name for themselves in this particular field, or firms. Take for example Cyril Amachan Mangalas over here. So whatever any article or piece that they come up with, it has been published over here on various topics. You'll find case briefs for the Supreme Court or the High Courts with respect to any recent aspect that has come up. With respect to Constitution Bench judgments, you can go to Supreme Court Constitution Benches and all recent updates with respect to Constitution Bench judgments and aspects that will come forward. With respect to legislation, again, you can go to cabinet decisions or rules and regulations which have again been, declared recently. With respect to legal roundup, it will just give you a monthly roundup or a yearly roundup of the Supreme Court or the relevant High Court which you choose. With respect to cases, again, it will just, it's morely, it will just take you to cases which have come into prominence in the recent past. Now, with respect to law school news, right? So what essentially happens over here is all moot courts that have again been partnered up with the EBC with EBC. So all live blogging, all moot court announcements. If there is a call out with respect to a call for papers or conference or seminars, that is all again made available over here. Law Made Easy is again various legal aspects which have come into public eye in the recent past. So now it's really difficult for a number of us over here, to go into the intricate details. And for example, I can see the key highlights of the Companies Amendment Act, right? So what happens is that a short case, or a short brief or a brief note is prepared in that aspect for an easier understanding, right? Know thy judge is again an aspect which takes us to on the birthdays of all the Supreme Court justices, all famous case laws and their retirements, what their contribution was to the profession, everything has been put forward. And right, interviews is so all of us as ambassadors, we also conduct interviews in cases of any significant achievement that has taken place. So if I can just show you this one by me, so you can, so if anyone is interested over here with respect to applying for the Chevening scholarship, you can just go up to this interview, and over here the entire process has been described. The scholar has himself given us the way he had applied, all preparation that he had taken, so it will get you to that. IDIA is again an aspect which it's about inclusivity. We are all we all know the IDIA body, so that's what it is about. It's about the IDIA scholars and that aspect. So I see. I think so. I have just 5 minutes left. So I'll just I'll stop sharing my screen now, and uh, right, and I'll just request anyone, if there are any questions which I can address, and in case I'm not being able to address, I can just promise you that I'll get back to you within 24 hours. So if there are any questions, you can go ahead and ask me. And thank you so much.
Actually, when I was doing one of my previous internships, the cases which I was
Right.
asked to research. Hello?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah. So the cases on which I was supposed to do the research work was actually very, very particular in nature. So it was very difficult for me to navigate through SCC Online and find those relevant sections in the cases. So is there any way in which you can actually read the entire, you can actually get a gist of the entire judgment without going through the hundreds of pages that they actually are?
Right, exactly. So that's what head notes are for, right? So if I can just share my screen again, I'll just show that to you. Right. So take for example, at least the longest or the lengthiest judgment which has been known to me is say Keshavananda Bharti, right? So if I can search that up, right, and that is essentially, ma'am, what also digest notes help you for. So I'll just show you how we can do that. I'll just wait for the search to show up. Right. So now you can see, I'll just wait for this to open up. There'll be a head note. Now, even for example, head notes with respect to lengthy judgments like Keshavananda Bharti, it deals with so many things, right? So what you essentially do is you just go into the aspect of digest notes, which you'll find in later on. You can just I think so. I have just 2 minutes left, so I'll just tell you in a nutshell. And right, so what you can do is you can just put in the citation or the relevant case law, and then go into digest notes and put a search within search. Or for example, even over here, you can just go to search within search and take, for example, you want to find an aspect with respect to Article 21 in Keshavananda Bharati, right? So you can just put in right to life, and your search will narrow down, right? So right, if that helps your query, and if there's anything more you can
just 1 second, just 1 second.
Right.
If some of you have more queries that need to be addressed, and taking into consideration audience schedule after 7 p.m., maybe some of the doubts can be resolved, but all of them might not be possible for him to resolve right now. What we can do is we can shift to a second meeting link, because this one will expire at 7. So we will at 6:55, only a minute left. So we'll be sending that link over to you via email. So kindly join that immediately, and we can resolve the rest of the queries quickly. Okay.
Right. And for any of you who are occupied, right, and for any of you who are occupied after that, I've mentioned my email ID in the chat box. You can also email me, and I'll get back to you within 24 hours. Right. Thank you so much.
Please join the other link. Right. If anyone has any further queries, please join the other link. All of you are requested to join the other link. Okay. It is already being sent.
Can the person kindly reiterate her question so that it can be resolved properly this time? I mean, just in a nutshell.
Yeah, so my problem was that when we are supposed to do research work, basically the guidelines are extremely vast. So how do you narrow it down to your research? Because there are different ways and you can actually go about a case, right? You have Boolean words and you have those keywords. So which is the most correct way to go about it?
Right, ma'am. If I can, address your query in a little more specific way, why don't you tell me something, to that aspect, right? Something that you want to search, and I'll just try narrowing it down.
Yeah. So right one of them was Section 9 of IBC.
Section 9 of IBC.
Because constitutional cases are comparatively easier to be found than like act-specific cases or sections in the acts.
Right. So I'll just share my screen and take us through that. Right. So we can just go to a find case law by section, and then so section 9. Right. So over here, again, you see you have 3,387 results, right? So how you can essentially just as an example to narrow it down, if you have something even more specific with respect to, say, section 9, I'm not really aware of what section 9 is, but take for example the aspect of limitation. So what you can just do is you can search within search, and you can file your search for limitation, and that will essentially take you down. And if I recall, another query was that since judgments are so long, and for you to read just the gist of it, right? For example, for you not to just search through all the judgments. So for example, in this particular case, transmission corporation, right? So these are the head notes, right? So you need not open up the entire judgment and go through the same, right? You can just read with respect to section 9 whatever is given over here, and you will just see how your search query has been narrowed down from 3,000 to almost 321. You can further do this by the help of digest notes. So you can just put in digest notes only, and there are Supreme Court judgments only with respect to the same. So over here, you can just again. So you have the digest note over here, which is the head note, right? So you can just read this, and if it fits, if it fits your case, or if it fits your needs, you can just take it down from here. Was I able to help address that query then?
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Right. So anything else? And I'm really sorry for, I know it was almost a storm, that I went through all the, aspects of SCC Online, but I was a little time bound because I was told that the meeting link would expire at 6:55. So I'm really sorry. So if any of y'all want, to go into greater detail with any of the aspects of SCC Online, I'll be really happy to do so. Or any doubt in that respect.
Aurin, am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So can you please elaborate on the gray line search once again?
Right. I'll do that. Right. So this is the gray line search. Now, again, for us, it does not really help or come that much into effect because it essentially. So, for example, if we are searching something uh, with the Singapore jurisdiction in mind, right? So SCC won't be much of much of a help, right? So what now? This so also depends upon the subscription you have on your with respect to your SCC subscription, because this is only available on a premium subscription, and I think so that is of course a lacuna on our part. But for example, if I can just go to LawNet, right? So it will just take me to the LawNet legal database, which is used in Singapore, and I'll just wait for it to load up. Until then, so you have LawNet, you have Hein Online USA, which again takes us to the US, the American jurisdiction. You can go to the SCC Online blog. So this is just a set of links which take you to and I think so for us the most relevant one over here is the SCC Online blog. Because that is most effective, and that is what we are looking at for the most, right? You can also go up to EBC Learning. Now EBC Learning again is a portal which gives you certificate courses, and you have to sign up for them and pay for it. So yes, that is one aspect of EBC Learning. For example, EBC Web Store, it's basically if you want to buy books or anything, and mind it, I'm not advertising over here. Being a student myself, so I know it's really expensive. So, but yeah, so EBC Web Store just takes us, and if you want to buy books, because a lot of time what happens, and I remember one of my brothers from the department itself, he bought a book from Amazon, and it was a pirated copy of the same, right? So if you want to avoid anything of that sort, you can go to EBC bookstore, and you can just order it directly from there. But of course, I do realize that there are greater discounts available elsewhere, and this is the SCC Online store. So, for example, if you want to get into a subscription for SCC Online, or whatever subscription, even with respect to your hardbound volumes, you'll get all that over here, right? And with respect to LawNet, so this is LawNet, the database that is used in Singapore. So in case you're looking for anything over there, you can just so this is not as complicated or as intricate as SCC is. This is more of what Google is. So you can just search your query over there, and you can put your check marks over there, and it'll take you to your respective area, right? So if that addressed your question. So
Yeah, sure.
thank you so much, sir. Right. So anything else with respect to word search or usage of keywords? Because I'm really sorry, I went really fast with that. Or usage of wildcards. Right. So in case you encounter upon an issue later on when you're using SCC, I'll just share my email ID with you all, and you can mail me, and I can get back to you within 24 hours. Any issues with respect to EBC or SCC Online, or even a general feedback that you might want to give me, which will be very valuable to me, of course. So right, anything, because I guess my seniors as well as juniors, all of us are here. So any feedback, positive, negative, in a way I can improve and all of us can improve. So you can just mail me. I've put in my email address. So right, I guess.
Well, while we are at the, it's still in this session, I think maybe you could brief us as to why relying on SCCs has become so important, and why other case repositories may not be relied on so often. Why could you just give a brief explanation as to why should we rely on SCC so much?
Right. As to why you should rely on SCC is, I think so. The Indian courts are as vociferous as it could be on that aspect, because in many courts, you can only, so if you go with a judgment which is printed from Indian Kanun, they're not going to really pay heed to it, right? So they only require, and that's what the judicial decorum has been throughout the years. So you either cite SCC reports or SCC judgments, or the equivalent Manupatra judgments. Now what SCC essentially does is, a lot of times courts, in order to check the veracity of a particular judgment that is being cited in the courts of law, you have in SCC something that is called a true print, right? So if I can just show you that. So what that essentially does to a judgment is, it makes it as foolproof as it would be if it was downloaded from a court website, or the High Court or the Supreme Court website portal directly, right? So I think so that is one of the major benefits of it, and I'll just show you how to get the true print. So if I can just go back to Keshavananda Bharati judgment, and
And while you're at it, just give us a brief explanation as to how we can avoid printing, all 1,300 pages of a long judgment, and maybe we can just
right,
select a few
right,
pages and print it.
absolutely, I'll do that. I'm just waiting for. So essentially, as it loads, you can see over here. So this is the print uh, button, right, over here. So you can see, you can just general print it, which is a non-true print. So that would be just, it'll just be a printed version of as it is here on the SCC portal, right? But what a true print essentially does, it is that it is, so it'll come, so there'll be a watermark which says that it's a true print copy. So in case you cite it, or you file it in a court of law, that will be treated as a judgment which has been downloaded from the website of the court, the respective court itself. Now with respect to Sir's query as to how you can shorten the you know the number of pages that you essentially print, is essentially you just click on the true print button, and then it will take you to a new tab, and I hope this is visible, right? So it will take you to a new tab, and I'll just go to that. So for example, you just want, say, pages 230 to 240, so you can just choose it over here, right? 230 to 240, right? I can just go and choose 240, right? So you can just print it in that effect, instead of wasting like the entire printing the entire bunch, and wasting it in case you don't need the rest of it. So you can just print your relevant the relevant pages in that respect. In fact, you can also, you know where in an age where the aspect of printing is now minimal, you can also save the judgment, and again, you can also save it on your device, with respect to, take for example, you just 3-4 pages are required, so you can just save page 235 to say page 240, and you can save it, and it'll be saved in your device, right? So yes, if I was, if that addressed your query, so.
Yes, definitely. Is there any other query that needs to be addressed right now, or maybe all this can sink in for a while, and maybe then a query crops up in our mind, and we can send it to Aurin's email ID, and he has assured us that he will be replying to that email within 24 hours.
24.
So that is a great thing. If there's nothing else, then we'll end it here. And we'll thank Aurin once again for conducting this session. I hope everyone learned a few things. And yes, is anyone trying to say something? I mean, I just maybe saw a microphone getting switched on. No. Okay, no one. All right then. So
right.
Thank you, Aurin, for conducting this
session. Thank you so much for allowing me and making me part of your family and giving me your time on a boring Thursday weekend. And yes, thank you so much. Thank you so much to everyone.
All right. So if there is no other query, then you may leave the meeting. And but if you have any query subsequent to leaving this meeting, you can address it to the person concerned and email him. Okay. Yes. Right. All right. Thank you so much. Have a nice evening, everyone.
Thank you.